We'll go ahead and begin our meeting. We're a few minutes late. The House just adjourned, so we're a little late getting started. Apologize for the delay. We have some bills we want to discuss and also a couple of presentations. So let's move expeditiously and through our process. But first of all, I'd like to ask you to turn your cell phones off, please. Make sure there's no interruption. At this time, I recognize Representative Corley Ellis to open our meeting in prayer.
Thank you. Please pray with me. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this wonderful day you've given us, Lord, and thank you for the freedoms that we so often take for granted. Lord, please be with the armed service men and women who fight for those very freedoms and gives us these freedoms daily. Lord, just ask for strength, wisdom, and courage as we move forward in making decisions for the state of Alabama and do what's best for the people of Alabama. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Clerk will call the roll. Here.
Here. Representative Chestnut. Here. Representative Collins. Here. Representative Collins. Representative Daniels. Here. Representative Ellis. Here. Representative Faulkner. Here. Representative Lawrence. Here. Representative Lovering. Representative Stubbs. Here. Representative Wood. Here. 12 members answering the roll.
Thank you. This time we'd like to recognize a special guest. Representative Collins, you have a guest you'd like to recognize?
Well, I would love to, but I think she's paging, which is what she's here to do. But if you run into Mackenzie Sims around here, or if she comes in a little bit, I hope you'll make her feel welcome. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Representative Faulkner?
Well, I grabbed my page and told him to come with me, and he said, I think I'm supposed to check in with my boss. I said, who's that? I said, well, let's introduce you, and then we'll go find her. So I may have gone out of school here, but Hans, will you stand? Hans Montgomery here paging with us. Thank you.
Thank you. For the record, it's probably not the first time you've gone out of school, Representative Faulkner, but any other guests to recognize today? Representative
Mr. Chairman, I would like to recognize, I see a couple of my superintendents in the audience. I see Dr. Melvin Brown from Montgomery County Public Schools, and I see Ms. Samita Jeter, Lowndes County Public Schools.
Thank you. Welcome.
I think he stepped out. That's Mr. Richard Dennis, but we'll acknowledge him when he comes back in. I see a lot of other familiar faces from the Black Belt area as well. Glad to have you guys here.
Welcome. Happy to have you here, Representative Chestnut.
Yes, and I just want to recognize all the Black Belt superintendents. If y'all would please stand.
Representative Wood.
I would like to represent all of the, I would like to welcome all the ladies that are with Margie Wilcox today. You know, most people just come to our committee without support, but okay, Margie has her friends here. So I wanted to just, thank you.
Thank you. Representative Wilcox, we're happy to know you have friends. We have a couple of presentations that I really want to hear. I'm happy to see the superintendents here because I'm eager for them to hear some of these what we're here today and also for our committee. So we have several bills we'd like to move through. First up would be Representative Wilcox.
Good morning, and thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. I'm very pleased to present House Bill 51. I'm seeking to remove the sales tax from hearing aids. I've done some research. None of our surrounding states, Georgia, Florida, Mississippi, or Tennessee, tax hearing aids. So I think this puts our disability community at a disadvantage. I seek to remedy that. I sent y'all an email. I'm open to any questions that you have.
Representative Chestnut.
At the appropriate time, I'd like to move for a favorable report.
Before we do that, I think there's an amendment. Representative Drummond, you have a question?
Well, more of a comment, and I will second his motion. But I wanted to tell Representative Wilcox, thank you. He's now deceased, but our former sheriff, Tom Purvis, this was something near and close to him because as he aged, he was spending thousands and thousands of dollars. And I just want to say thank you. And I will vote on this bill in memory of former Sheriff Tom Purvis.
Oh, thank you. And if I could add, Dink Stevens, my constituent that brought this to my attention, is listening on and watching on live stream. This came from him when he had bought his hearing aid. I had no idea that he had to pay $1,000 in taxes, even though his insurance covered his hearing aid. So for many, luckily he's employed and was able to pay the $1,000, but many of our citizens will go without, and that'll cause dementia, isolation. There's several things that hearing aid leads to that are unfavorable for our community. Our seniors and our disability are some of my most treasured citizens. I know y'all feel that same way, and thank you so much for your consideration.
Well, I want to make a comment too that the hearing aid issue is the older I get, the more and more of my peers that have to have problems with that.
What'd you say?
But it is an issue, and also I think there's been a lot of technological advances in the hearing aid. You know, one time they amplified all the sounds. Now they're very sophisticated. They can amplify just certain things, and it's much more accommodating to the user. But they're very expensive. So I appreciate your any other comments. Who's bringing the amendment? Representative Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Representative Wilcox, for bringing this bill. Then something that's very worthy. To try to have consistency, I guess, as much as we can within this committee on this, I feel like that we need to try to stay in our lane and make this relative just to state taxes and not to the local taxes. I would hope that the locals would opt in, would be my desire, but I do bring this amendment then with that on that premise then that we just try to make this relative just to the state taxes and then allow the locals to opt in. So, Mr. Chair, I think everyone has a copy of the amendment. I'll be glad to read the amendment if needed.
Yes, sir. Please do.
Okay.
Am I allowed to talk on that?
Let him read the amendment first.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
This will be replacing line 643 on page 23 with the following: AIDS, period. The exemption provided in this subdivision shall not apply to county or municipal sales taxes unless approved by resolution or ordinance adopted by the local governing body.
I'm conflicted here because I've never been in a position where I can tell you can't talk. So I'm kind of wondering if I should say yes or no.
I just haven't found any of our surrounding states that do. I've asked the League of Municipalities to do that research because I want our disabled citizens to be treated just as fairly as the other states.
Right. So this is really a matter of policy, I think, for this committee. We're talking about whether or not we should, because of our tax structure, which is different than many other states, we limit the ability of local governments to do things. So the question is a matter of policy. We not just with your, but we've been having discussion for ongoing. So there's an amendment to basically say that local governments could opt in on this provision, but they're not automatically included. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second, Representative Alman. Any discussion, or Representative Ellis?
Just for clarification, we received two amendments that are
Yeah, they're the same.
different, but appear to read the same.
They're the same, yeah.
Okay.
So what happened was I was going to bring one and didn't realize Representative Baker was, so they say the same thing.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I may, just briefly, this is not a nonprofit. You all know that I'm working on the nonprofit tax exemption bill, which hopefully maybe that's the next week we'll have ready for you. But just FYI, what we have in the bill is a proposal to exempt only the state level taxes and leave the local taxes to the local governing body. So just that's the direction we're moving in. We've done both in the past out of this committee and as a body, so that's where we're moving with the bill. Just FYI.
So I think with this bill, this would require basically the locals to just pass an ordinance that they would comply, that they would agree to follow the same thing as the state, but it would give them that opportunity. So we have an amendment. The amendment has been introduced in a second. Any other discussion on the amendment? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So amendment's passed. Entertain a motion on the bill now.
So moved.
Representative Chestnut, you made a motion, and did you second it? Okay, so Representative Chestnut made the motion for favorable report, seconded by Representative Drummond. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Bill's given a favorable report. Thank you.
Thank you, committee. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Next up, we actually have three bills that relate to tax exemptions. And again, Representative Almond has been working on this issue. We've just to give a little background, the way we currently do tax exempt is you have to come before the body. We have to make an exception, put you in the code basically. And we're trying to formalize that. Do you have anything you want to say about that?
Well, we met last week and made some, I think, what I hope will be final revisions before we actually have the bill ready. And Yes, so some of the things we focused on, or just what we just discussed, whether to just exempt state taxes, and that's the direction we were moving with the bill. Secondly, the categories of things that we thought we could broadly agree on, and Dustin is there, and I'll let you do, off the top of your head, I know there were certain medical categories, church, religious categories.
Yes, Dustin.
Yes, ma'am. The other things that we had talked about, want to add to the draft would be a similar provision to what I believe United Way has for being a member of them, basically a 3-year, you have to be in existence for 3 years as a 501c3. So that was one of the provisions I want to talk about. And then also one of the concepts that comes before this committee a lot are the limited time frame instances, such as the World Games, one of the ones that the committee recently passed. And so having a provision to where those could be handled by the Department of Revenue, y'all would set up the guidelines as far as the duration and which taxes would be exempt, which type of events would be covered. So that might be another kind of broad category that could be included as well.
Any other comments, Representative Almond?
No, so just not having heard from the presenters yet, but looking, in fact, we might just briefly with each one just sort of say how they might fall out if we were to have passed the bill. But, and I do feel pretty strongly about the being consistent with United Way, and that is the groups that are requesting the tax exemption have been in existence for 3 years, just having served on the city council, and some of you who've also done the same. Otherwise, you're inundated with lots of organizations that really don't have any history of having, been in existence, and you don't know how well they're managing their organization. So it really helps to have that little bit of history already.
So again, this bill is being worked on. Will be before our committee. We'll discuss it. Should it move out of here and go to the House, then it has to go to the Senate. Of course, we're burning through days down here, so we're not sure where it goes. So in the meantime, we're left with where we are right now. And so we have 3 exemptions today to hear that are typical of what we normally do, and I'd like to recognize each one of those. First, clerk call first bill.
House Bill 47 by Representative Ensler.
Representative Ensler.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As been discussed, this would exempt the Alabama State Missionary Baptist Convention. They have tens of thousands of members throughout the state. They do a lot of charitable work where they serve low-income families after disasters. They do a lot of emergency relief, and they also do a lot of mentorship working with young people all throughout the state. So wanted to bring this to exempt them from the sales and use taxes. Certainly recognize and appreciate the efforts, though, to streamline the process down the road. But with the current way we have doing it, I appreciate you bringing this up.
Sure. Any comments or questions on the bill? Representative Baker, do you have an amendment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Once again, Mr. Chairman, I do have a very similar amendment. I know that these taxes, it's where, for consistency, then I'd like to see this continue, because it can be for products, it could be for nonprofits, entities, and all. But I think just for consistency, then I do have an amendment. If you'd like, I can go ahead and read the amendment, but
Yes,
it's
sir. Please
similar
do.
to the previous. This will be replace lines 9 through 10 on page 1 with the following: standing of the convention from the payment of sales and use taxes. Replace line 20 on page 1 with the following: convention from payment of sales. Replace line 158 on page 6 with the following: paying any state, county, and municipal sales and use taxes subject to the provisions of number 3. Replace line 163 on page 6 with the following: department. Number 3, the exemption provided by this subsection shall not apply to county or municipal sales or use taxes unless approved by resolution or ordinance adopted by the local governing body.
We have an amendment. Any second on the amendment? Second, Representative Collins. Any discussion on the amendment? Representative Chestnut.
So this is going to apply across the board with all of these
Yep.
entities?
That's the intent, is for consistency purposes then to to maintain that we just make this specific to state taxes, and then the local authorities then can make their decision by ordinance or resolution.
Representative Drummond.
I wanted to get a little bit clarification because I happen to know this organization, and they usually hold tens of thousands of people at conventions in said city. So it's an economic boost to whatever city or community they're in. So I asked my colleagues, how do we address that? Because I don't think these are not folks who are located, and I'll just use myself as an example, in Mobile, and I go and buy products under Alabama Baptist Association. They actually go into a community, and that community actually recruits them for their convention. And I'm a Baptist, so I know all of this. And while I'm there, I'm spending a lot of my money that's not through the convention, but I'm eating at restaurants and hotels and so forth. And I say that to Representative Allman, and I'm on her committee. This is sort of different than what the previous was. These are actually conventions.
I think it probably speaks precisely to Representative Baker's amendment, and that is why we would only recommend that we exempt the state taxes and not necessarily the local taxes, and leave that up to the local government so they can.
And invited, this is the Alabama State Missionary Baptist Convention, which is an organization, not an event. You're not about a convention event. This is about I mean, they may do conventions, but I'm part of the Southern Baptist Convention. That's our organization.
But I don't know of anybody who buys local stuff. I mean, maybe the sponsor can clarify that for me, because I'm a part of, while he's with Southern, I'm with this organization. And I know that we have a convention. We just had one last year in Mobile with 5,000 delegates that came into the city.
But what's your question, though?
Well, I'm trying to understand the content of what you're wanting to have exempt and where. If it's for the event, or if is it for goods, or what? I'm not.
Sure. So they brought it to me for both reasons, for events and for purchasing products. So say, for example, there's a natural disaster and they go to a Walmart and buy all sorts of products to then distribute. They just want to have the tax exemption for if they're doing those kind of philanthropic relief efforts, or if they are hosting an event and they are renting out space, or they are purchasing food, say from a local business, they want it to just be exempt as well from that, so that way they're able to retain some of their dollars to then put it back out into their community relief efforts. That's how they at least presented it to me.
Any other comments or questions? I'll entertain a motion. The amendment, did we pass the amendment? We did pass the amendment?
Yes,
Okay.
we have motion second.
Did we?
We haven't
Yeah,
voted,
so-
I don't think.
So I'll entertain a motion to make the bill as amended.
Motion.
Representative Daniels,
Second.
second Representative Wood. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Bill's given favor report. Thanks, sir. Clerk, call next bill.
House Bill 43 by Representative Lamb.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and committee members. Thank you for this opportunity to appear before you this morning. My bill falls under the categories that you have been discussing. It's a sales tax exemption for High Socks for Hope. It's a 501c3. It originated in 2011 after the Tuscaloosa tornado, and it provides disaster relief for homeless victims and furnishings to replace what they lost in the disaster.
I believe we had this bill last year. Must not have made it out of the chamber, but okay.
Senate.
The Senate, okay, yeah. I think Representative South, I remember, brought this bill last year.
That's correct.
Okay. Representative Baker?
Thanks so much, Mr. Chairman. Once again, this is very similar and nearly identical. Then on this, if you'd like, I can read the amendment, or if you feel like it's similar enough that we can move forward, then I'll defer to you.
I think it's similar enough that it's just, again, exempting the county and local taxes from this bill and allowing them to take affirmative action. So we have a amendment offered by Representative Baker, second Representative Collins. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, I'll entertain a motion on the bill.
So moved.
So moved by Representative Almond makes a motion. Second, Representative Colvin. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Bill's given a favor report. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, committee. And one comment, I wish y'all had done that hearing aid bill a few months ago.
Clerk will call the next bill.
House Bill 178 by Representative Harbison.
I haven't seen Representative Harbison. I'm not sure he's here. I guess we'll carry the bill over, so thank you. That's all we have on the agenda as far as bills. Next, I'm really eager for the committee to hear from our next guest. We've had discussion yesterday, a lot of discussion yesterday about school choice and different things, and I think today we have two organizations or groups that I'm very familiar with. One in my district, Dr. Walter Gonsolin, you're here. He's the superintendent for Jefferson County Schools. Dr. Gonsolin, will you raise your hand there? With you, Dr. Aletta Rush, is she with you or no? Dr. Laura Ware, the deputy superintendent, Mr. Whit Colvin, who's counsel, and these are representing Jefferson County School System, which is one of the larger ones in the state. Also, we have Dr. Pamela Williams, who's the interim chief academic officer for City of Birmingham Schools. And Dr. Sullivan's not able with us today. He had some shoulder surgery. But both of these schools, again, I get to see. And recently, I was in the City of Birmingham school touring Glen Iris, and was there on the same day that a reporter from the New York Times was there to do a story about their intercession program, which is basically I want them to talk about. It sort of talks about the concept of having school just beyond just the traditional calendar that we're all accustomed to, and so. Dr. Williams, you're recognized, and we look forward to hearing you. And then following you, Jefferson County is going to talk about some things they're doing within the county that's providing some flexibility and innovation within the county school system. So look forward to hearing both of those. Ask the committee to listen and take notes. And superintendents would welcome your thoughts as well following the meeting.
Okay.
Dr. Williams.
Good morning. Morning. It is a pleasure to be here today on behalf of our wonderful superintendent, Dr. Mark Sullivan, and our Birmingham Board of Education, led by President Jason Meadows and Vice President Walter Wilson. We truly extend our deepest gratitude for the opportunity to share our story and our journey today. Dr. Sullivan really wanted to be here. However, as you stated, he did have to have emergency surgery, so hopefully I'll be able to do our story well to share it today. My name, of course, is Pamela Williams. I am currently serving as the interim chief academic officer. Here's a little background of our school system. We do have 44 locations. We have 43 schools and one alternative center. We have recently opened a newcomer center for our students who come into the country speaking different languages. We also we're right at about 20,000 students with over 2,700 employees.
I'm sorry, would you adjust your microphone a little bit?
Okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
is that better? So, as you stated, the challenges posed by the pandemic were profound. It affected educational institutions worldwide. Birmingham City, like most, faced unique hurdles, really exacerbated by current existing inequities, specifically the limited access to internet and Wi-Fi services in our homes. And it actually compounded the instructional loss caused by the pandemic, the time in school, just teaching and learning. So that necessitated innovative solutions to bridge the gap. Dr. Sullivan recognized that it was imperative that we recover lost instructional time for our students. We had to accelerate their learning in a way that was unique because of our situation due to the pandemic. So he championed this concept he called BCS intercessions. What we call BCS intercessions, these are short periods embedded within the academic year. Usually up to 5 days during the week where students are out of school, but they can come to school voluntarily, or parents can send them. It is not mandatory. We do send out letters for students who need instructional intervention. There are enrichment activities for them as well. But it's targeted instruction to help close the learning gap. What you're seeing on the slide right now shares some preliminary data. We are so excited to say that just recently we took our data and sent it off to be evaluated by our evaluators. Out of 10 of 18 comparison cases, and these are cases of students compared to students who did not attend intercession, the students who attended the intercession showed more growth than the students who didn't. And this was recent data. We used our fall intercession. In each of those cases, the differences were significant. And what was really interesting and exciting, in no cases of students that did not attend intercession, those students show more growth than the students who actually came into our intercessions. That's important. And on the right of the slide, you're seeing total numbers of students for the year. So we're not saying that 19,000 students attended each time, but there was a total if you look at each of the intercession attendance numbers on this slide. So we're averaging about a third of our students each intercession term. So there is confidence there from our parents and our teachers that the intercession is working. It is necessary because they're sending their students to intercession. It has been robust consistently. We have extended the year for our students. So if they attend intercession, they are essentially getting almost 10 to 15 days more of instruction each year. If you look at that over 3 years, that equates to almost 2 months more of instruction. We've experienced recent academic success. As noted earlier, different entities like New York Times have noticed our intercession gains. Why are we excited about a 3% growth in math? In 2020-21, our proficiency rate, meaning the percentage of students proficient in math in Birmingham City, was 3.9%. With intercessions, intervention, high dosage tutoring, because we had to use multiple methods to accelerate learning, by 2022, the proficiency rate doubled, 8.21%. By 2023, we experienced another 3% growth. That is why we are being recognized across the country, because we are closing learning gaps. Immediately following the pandemic, we experienced a 9% increase in ELA and reading. And this year, Birmingham City is proud to say that we have more A's and B's on our state report card than we've ever had. Stated earlier again, New York Times, they're looking at our math growth, because when you compare the growth in math in Birmingham City to other urban school districts, our students are improving in math by 0.52 grade levels, more than the average scores in math. It is significant. While our journey is ongoing, we remain committed to data-driven refinement and continuous improvement. We will continue to gather qualitative and quantitative feedback from our stakeholders to ensure that our intercessions and interventions remain responsive and effective. So in conclusion, Birmingham City Schools intercessions represent our proactive approach to addressing academic disparities and accelerating student success. Though our challenges persist, our dedication to maximizing the instructional time and nurturing student potential remains unwavering. So thank you this morning for your attention. Am I allowed to open for questions?
Sure. Let me just make a comment. So Representative Collins just reminded me. Last year we talked about year-round school, which got out of the gate and really caused a lot of concern. We weren't mandating that, but what you've done basically is we were trying to extend the number of days that you could do what you do, basically. And basically what you're doing is you're going, and this is just an example, I'm not sure it's precisely what you do, but everybody's required to go for 9 weeks. Then there's like a 3-week period where there's a gap. And during that 3-week period, 2 of those 3 weeks, students can voluntarily go. And some parents will say, I need you to go because you've got to go, because we've got to go, you got to work, because you need to continue your deal. Others need that remediation. Others need enrichment.
Right.
And then there's 1 week when they're just, I guess, off. But the point is, you're having more learning days. It's targeted instruction. And I actually was at Leonard Iris School.
Yes.
I think there's 700 students there. I think there were 240 so that were there that day. So a third of the school was there for the intervention. And I was just so impressed. I actually understood the science of reading. I've heard that term, but they were actually went to a reading class, and there is a science to reading. I mean, like she was basically, there really is. I know, I didn't think you made it up, but I mean, I understood because she basically was saying, okay, the rule is how many vowels are in this word? And they identified the vowels. Okay, how many consonants? And they would check the consonants. Okay, well, what happens? What's the rule if you have a vowel in the middle of two consonants and there's connected? And they could basically make sense. So there was, I got thinking, there's a pattern to why we have, there's a science to reading, right? But I actually saw it, the light went off. But I saw these kids, and I said, well, can you do that with any? They didn't like with two syllable words. They did a 3-syllable. And I said, what about pandemic? No, that's 3. What about, I threw a curveball, and she said, well, let's try. And they figured it out. And so it was really exciting. But I think what I was impressed with was, one, you're addressing the learning gap, which is rather than waiting to the summer and hope that everybody comes and shows up, that you're doing this throughout the year. The other is these results that are showing improvement happen post-COVID,
Yes.
which just really was remarkable to me. So I think that you're having to fund this. The teachers have to get paid to do this, and the city funds are doing this. So one thing I want us to talk about as a committee is whether or not we want to consider providing some funding in our budget for programs like this, because I think based on these results, I was pretty impressed. Any other comments or questions for committee members? Representative Collins?
I want to thank you for the program. It's really very similar to the bill that possibly got me more negative emails than I've gotten in a long time. So we obviously needed a better PR program, and I think you've done a great job. I'm also really happy to hear that our chairman is seeing the science of reading living out. I think it's great. I know in Mobile they've had a school that's had a similar type structure, and thinking outside the box to make sure all our children are achieving I just applaud you for that, and thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Any other Representative Baker?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I echo the sentiments of my colleague, then Representative Collins. And Mr. Chairman, then I'm so thrilled to hear you talk about the science of reading. It's something that Representative Collins and myself both very passionate about, and something that is very empowering, very enlightening, not just from the students, but also the teachers then, and their being more empowered. But I do applaud this program. I think it is something that I think that we would want to continue to look at for possibilities across the state. I would also just sort of make a little comment. I think we've heard about the ESSER cliff that is coming, and so the extra, such as whether it be after school hours, whether it be summer programs, I think we'd be very mindful of that, trying to bridge or fill the gap. Thank you.
Representative Drummond?
I too am in awe of this program, but how long is this program been in existence? And then I want to know, how did you deal with transportation and getting the parents buy-in?
Yes, ma'am. So we actually began not in the fall of 2020, but in the fall of 2021. So we were still dealing with COVID scenarios where, schools, making sure students were safe. So we actually began in 2021, and we started in that fall. We had a winter and a spring intercession, and of course summer, and we did the same thing last year. For transportation and lunch, we used our ESSER funding to help, provide transportation for students. So we ran our regular bus routes. So in cases where we were offering, say, a specialty camp, because we also had camps for like Lego robotics, CTE camps. We actually had a wellness camp for our special needs students. So we did use hubs for them, but we just ran our regular bus routes, so students had no barriers to getting to school. And for all of our students that are in grades kindergarten through 5th grade, we opened and extended our after-school care from 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock, because intercession would normally end about 1 o'clock. So if you needed after-school care and you're a working mom, you couldn't pick up, or parent could not pick up your students before 5, they had free after-school care. And in those after-school care programs, what did we do? Intervention and enrichment. So they were getting a double dose, and we hired teachers to work in those programs.
And I think what's significant is you're getting more number of days of school for students who really, really need it and targeted instruction. So thank you so much for presenting, and give Dr. Sullivan our best.
Yes, thank you.
Next, I'm happy to introduce Dr. Walter Gonsolin, good friend. He has 2 high schools, Jefferson County high schools in my district, Clay Chalkville High School and Pinson Valley High School, and all the feeder schools associated with that. He usually hosts our District 5 Superintendent's meeting at the Jefferson County Board of Education, but he's got some pretty innovative concept in the public schools that I thought was interesting. I want him to present. So welcome, Dr. Gonsolin.
Thank you, Chairman. Garrett, I appreciate you having us here. To the other committee members, also to Representative Sellers, who's one of our representatives in Jefferson County, and to Districts 2, 4, and 7, my colleagues, other superintendents. It is indeed a pleasure to be here. My name is Dr. Walter Gonsolin. I'm the superintendent of Jefferson County School, and I'm representing on behalf of the president, Karita Venable, and the vice president, Mr. Oscar Mann, our Jefferson County school model of school choice for public schools. I'm just going to tell you just a little bit about our district. The demographics of Jefferson County, Alabama as a whole. We're the most populated county in Alabama. Current population is over 600,000, 1,124 square miles. And trust me, as the superintendent, you get to understand how big 1,124 square miles is. Represents approximately 34 cities and towns, includes 12 public school districts. A number of other charter schools, private schools, church schools exist within the geographical boundaries. For the actual Jefferson County School District, we were established in 1819, second largest school district in Alabama. We have 13 feeder patterns with 58 schools and over 34,000 students. 54 home languages spoken, 7th largest employer in Jefferson County, 4,000 plus employees, and we have 22 cities and towns that we represent. That means we have, I talked to some of my other colleagues, other superintendents, and when they have one municipality they represent, I have to remind them that we have to, or educate them that we have 22 municipalities. That means we have to satisfy over 22 mayors and city council members. And they often ask me, how do you do that? And I say, one mayor at a time. One mayor at a time. I want to thank my colleague, Dr. Pam Williams, for her presentation because it is very similar to what we're presenting today. Dr. Williams, you did a great job. She was a family member of Jefferson County. She left us and went to Birmingham City, but we're hoping to get her back, but okay. I'm just messing. Tell Mark I said that, okay? So on the heels of the pandemic in 2020, we realized in Jefferson County that we had to do something different. We realized that our people were asking for choice, school choice. And how did we realize that? Was we formulated a task force, a research force. We got some researchers from Mississippi State and other places, and we brought them in. And in the middle of COVID, right when the genesis of COVID, we developed focus groups, and we began to talk to parents, and we began to talk to students to see what did they want from us as a school district. Now, we had some ideas of what we wanted to, with 58 schools, 13 different feeder patterns, we understood that we could not please everyone with just one thing. So we had to provide choice within our system. When you have 58 schools, you can do that. And so I got the team together, but the first thing we had to do, we had to go out into the community, and we had to talk to the parents. Just like my colleague, Ms. Dr. Pam Williams was talking about in Birmingham City. The parents had the choice to choose an option that was there. And so because it was there, they chose to get them to come. And so what we did was we developed some principles behind it. We got with our families to find out exactly what would it look like. And these were our principles that we established. Every student deserves school choice without barriers. We understood that very early. Students should not be excluded based on zip codes, and I'll explain to you what that means. We have 13 different communities, and I don't want to limit the children in the school based upon the offerings in that one building. We didn't want it to be excluded based upon ability. A lot of times when we have magnet programs and school choice programs, if you look into the requirements, it excludes children. And so we wanted to do interest over ability, nor exclude them because of access. Student interest, we understood early on that it was essential. So choice options are informed by input from parents, students, and community. When we did that first study, we found out that our parents were saying, listen, I don't mind for my children to have school choice, but this is what the research showed us. But if I graduated as a Gardendale Rocket, then I want my children to graduate as a Gardendale Rocket. So I don't mind sending them part-time as opposed to full-time. And we honored that, and I'll show you the results of that. So just some of the options that we have, school choice options in Jefferson County. Number one, we have the Academy of Craft, and that's downtown Birmingham, where the children are exposed to construction, welding and piping, HVAC, electrical, interior and exterior finishes. We have advanced placement courses because within our 13 feeder patterns, there are some schools that they have bought into the APs, and that's the tradition of it. So we honor that, we understand it. We even provide, in some cases, opportunities to pay for the test for those children to take it so that it won't have any barriers. In other communities, we realize that dual enrollment is more important to that community than APs, so we provide that for them as well. We have our Jeff Coed Community Academies, that's on our Shades Valley campus, where we have business and finance academies there, and also dance and theater. We have Jefferson County International Baccalaureate Schools. Right now we have the middle years and also the high school years. We have Signature Academies, the traditional pathway, and our Jefferson County Virtual School for those children who would prefer to come virtually. Our current Signature Academy choice is set up into 4 different zones: the northern, the eastern, the southern, and the western zone. And what we've done, I'll just share with one zone, and that's the northern zone. We've taken 3 high schools, Pinson Valley High School, Centerpoint High School, and Mortimer Jordan High School, and we offer certain part-time Signature Academies. For example, ACE, the College of Excellence. That's where these children from either one of these schools, that they can apply to this particular academy, and those children can earn high school credits and college credits at the same time, and could eventually graduate with a high school diploma and an associate's degree at the same time. We have agricultural science, culinary arts, cybersecurity, engineering, art, and special effects. Now that is placed on each one of those campuses. So for example, if I'm a child at Pinson Valley High School, the ACE program is located at Centerpoint High School. That means when I get there in the morning, if I want to be a part of that, a bus picks me up in the morning at my home school, and that bus transports me to Centerpoint High School. And after that first period or that first block, that bus takes me back to my home school, and I finish out. You know, when we first started this program, we were wondering how many students would be willing to participate. We saw what the research showed us. And so I said maybe 500, right? I think that's what we said at first. We say maybe 500. We're happy to announce that we have about 2,200 children participating in that part-time process. And we've been having that same amount for the last 2 years, and we're going into our 3rd year. And we have that particular concept for each one of our high schools. Our future choice options: magnet programs, international baccalaureate, we're going to expand upon that. We're going to expand upon our signature academies. We're going to create an educator academy, and a pharmacy academy. Our magnet programs, they will be from elementary up to the high school, STEM, arts, and language immersion. We have 2 feeder patterns, 6 schools that we already are piloting for our elementary theme schools or magnet schools. We have our global language and leadership, where children will be able to learn 2 languages. We have our science, technology, engineering, and math schools. And then we have our visual and performing arts schools. And the way we plan on setting that up is that children who choose to go to those particular schools, they can apply. If there's capacity, they get in, and then it'll go to the middle school and the high school. Now, I want to be very aggressive with this, but we're going to take it just, small bites at a time, right? But, I don't want children to feel, or parents to feel, that if they're zoned to one elementary school, that's the only option that they have. So if they are zoned to this particular school, and let's say it's a global language school, I'm thinking about the 4th grade, we will allow for some transition, for some movement when we're ready to implement that. But that child might be interested in STEM or visual and performing arts. And we fully expect to provide transportation for those children to get from one school to the next, because we're currently doing that, and I'll share with you that model. As I told you, we already have our IB high school, and we are currently building a school just for our 6th grade to 12th grade so that they could be on their own individual campus. Our middle school year program, because we believe that you shouldn't just have educational choice, but it should be quality choice. And so our middle school years, they were just recognized for the Blue Ribbon School Award nationally. They received the Legislative Achievement Performance Award for the top 25%. And so again, we want to provide school choice that is of quality. And then we plan to expand our IB opportunity for students in grades K through 5. Our Signature Academy expansion, now that we've been in operation for 2 years, we've done some more research to find out how's it going, what can we do to improve. And one of the things we found is some of our students would like to go to those schools full-time instead of a part-time. And our motto, our belief system is that if we can provide a way, if we can find a way to make it happen, then let's make it happen. And so we plan to have a full-day Signature Academy choice option to be expanded to the Academy of Leadership, JROTC, for our Army and Marines, and Academy of Arts and Special Effects. We are working now with 2 universities. One, Auburn University, and to have the Pharmacy Academy, which will be provided in partnership with Auburn University, and will provide the opportunity for students to gain 2 years of college while in high school, securing a placement for students in the PharmD program and a pathway to a Doctor of Pharmacy degree. Now, the power of that is that when those children graduate high school, that they can leave that program and go and they will automatically be accepted and go into the doctoral program of pharmacy at Auburn. I didn't even know that you didn't need a bachelor's degree or a master's degree to do that, right? But we found that we could with our partnership. Then the UAB, University of Alabama at Birmingham, the Educator Academy will be provided in partnership with UAB and will provide opportunities for students to gain 2 years of college while in high school, advancing toward a career in education. And that particular program will actually be on one of our high school sites. It's an extension program where UAB will have their extension program within our high school. And all over the county, children can apply to both of those particular programs and be accepted in it. And with the teacher shortage program, that academy is very important. Now, in Jefferson County, the one thing we really believe in is, so we put our money where our mouths are. And so this is what we're currently doing. For transportation alone, the academy routes, fuel, et cetera, is over $1 million annually that we're paying out of our local monies. It's costing us for a one-way trip for a child, $750 around. And for both ways for academy children, it's $1,500. I got that right, guys? Okay. Then we have we are paying for additional teachers, 9 current additional teachers annually, $765,000. Our capital improvement, we just did a Leadership Academy facility for $2 million. And our IB facility that we're building now is costing us $90 million, is under construction, on the way. Our program costs, because whenever you have specialized programs like theme schools, there's curricula that goes with that. And we're currently paying a little bit over $220,000. And then for those dual enrollment classes, where they get a high school diploma and an associate's degree at the same time, we're currently paying, it's $30,000 annual to pay for the tuition and the cost for books and materials. We believe in it, so therefore, that's why we're paying it. But I think with everything, we have to ask you guys, how can you help us? Number one, we think and believe that we need help with transportation costs, because you could provide this opportunity for children and choice, but without the transportation, then if they can't get there, they can't participate. So we're asking for help in this school choice model so that we can get transportation. Eligibility for innovation monies. Provide a funding pathway for specialized program costs, choice, related capital needs, and personnel resources. And I would say this, as a superintendent of a public school, I don't have a problem with competing. I don't have a problem with school choice, because I do believe that children should have a choice. But I would like for public schools to be considered as being able to provide school choice. And then while we're providing that school choice, that we get additional help with funding, eligible help with eligible funding, so that we can participate in that. And we believe funding for school choice is essential for all students. Thank y'all for the presentation, and thank you for having me.
Well, thank you, Dr.
Chairman
Constantine.
Garrett.
I apologize. We're off schedule today. We've got other committee meetings. We've lost some members, but you have been recorded.
Yes,
So
sir.
we'll make sure that all of our members are able to see your entire presentation.
Yes,
But
sir.
I just love the out-of-the-box thinking. I think committee knows that, and I think we've heard 2 very out-of-the-box ideas this morning. And I think that it's something as a committee we should consider how we can support this. We made the point yesterday, tried to make the point that by doing school choice, we're not abandoning public schools. And I think the point you made is a fair point. Help us do what we need to do to move forward and get innovative, and also provide choice within the public system. And so,
Yes, sir.
Any questions or comments for the speaker, Representative Wood?
I just want to make the comment that I'm so excited seeing your presentations today. I live in a county where we're closing a high school and consolidated with high emotions, and people feel like they're losing their school. And, we're trying to do something innovative to help our students, but it's very hard.
Yeah.
So I thank you for thinking outside of the box and making sure that there's opportunities for students right there. And I love what you said. We believe in it, so we're paying for it.
Yes.
That's an issue that we have in our state,
Right.
because we've always thought in our brain that public education was free.
No, it's not.
And so more people in your position need to be saying that. And we have to tell our citizens that if we believe in it, we have to pay for it. It's important. But thank you so much.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And I tell you, I told y'all we serve 22 municipalities, and you'd be amazed that people are willing to pay for it, because even with some of our municipalities, they have raised additional millage taxes so that they can augment what is being done as well. And so that's why we're saying it's going to take a village to do this, and that's why I thought it very important to ensure that as we look at school choice for in general, don't count out public schools for that, because we can provide quality school choice.
Representative Baker?
Thanks so much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, this is right up your alley. So often hear you then use the word innovation and such, and towards positive outcomes and such. But this is something that you maybe already were familiar with, being that this is somewhat in your backyard, your area. But I was just not familiar with this from Birmingham City Schools as well as Jefferson County. So I applaud you, and I applaud the presenters today to presenting for our committee. I wish more of the committee members could have heard the entire presentation. Truly innovative, that is in the quest for students being able to maximize their opportunities and potential. So thank you so much. I applaud the innovation that's going on. It's something that I think we truly need to look towards somewhat across the state along this same pathway. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And again, you've been recorded, so we have a video YouTube recording, and we'll get our clerk to send that to our committee members, make sure they see your entire presentation.
And if that doesn't work, Chairman Garrett, just let me know. I'll come back.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Any other comments or questions? Well, thank you again. Thank you, Dr. Gonsolin, and thank you, Dr. Williams, for being with us today. We really appreciate it, and I thank all the other superintendents for being here. Each situation is different. Birmingham is unique in its situation, its setup. Jefferson County with 58 schools and 22 municipalities. I mean, it's very unique. There are other counties that have one or two. It's a totally different deal. But I think the point is that we have to be committed to improving education, thinking outside the box, and then, as has been pointed out, you've got to pay for it. And I think that's all about how we direct our funding, and I think we need to be smart in how we direct our funding, because this is important, and the public schools are very important. They're the backbone of our state today. They'll continue to be the backbone of the state. But I think within that, we've got to step out of the box and provide better opportunities and choices for all of our students. Any other comments or questions before we adjourn? Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We stand adjourned.